Merci beaucoup. Igor, I will return to Russia and with two kinds of questions. One on domestic politics and the other on foreign policy. When the Arab Spring took place, a very sophisticated specialist of the Arab world made a comparison with 1953 in the Soviet Union, saying, well, I don't know what's going to happen, but in 1953, there was a man coming to maturity, and his name was Mikhail Gorbachev. And 30 years later, he made the perestroika, which means the period of thaw that followed the death of Stalin, that was short-lived, impressed him very much. And he played a decisive role, positive or negative, historian will say later on. When you look at the images of Moscow yesterday, what strikes you is the restraint of the demonstrator, the sense of responsibility. In a way, the press makes superficially, I believe, and wrongly, a comparison with Tahrir Square, which is both tempting and in many ways totally artificial. At the same time, and this is my allusion to 1953, something happened in the last 2 days, which looks like a turning point in the recent history of Russia. That's my first question. Would you comment on that perception? The second question on foreign policy is more to do with the priorities of Russia. When you look at the development of the Russian strategy today, you have the feeling that Russia has one obsession, and it is China, and that in reality you are trying to build a network of protection against Russia vis-à-vis the growth of Chinese power. Would you comment on that? If I had one third question, I would say I still do not fully understand the attitude of Russia vis-à-vis Syria in the last few weeks. I mean, it now looks very much like the regime will fall soon, in a bloody manner, in a very bloody manner, or not. Where would you characterize Russia's calculus on that?
My good friend Amar Musa, who spoke here 2 days ago, he said that he didn't like the definition Arab Spring. And some people wanted to say Russian winter or something. I don't like such definitions. All countries have their history and their development. And the same I can say about comparing the situation of today with 53 or 85 or some other periods. Totally different situation, and I think that totally different attitude of the population. From my point of view, that manifestations, as I said, are the result of the, profound reforms, not only reforms in the legal system or in the constitution, but in the mind of the people. And you have new people, new generation, which knows well what is happening in the world. They know, they travel, they go to study, they visit other countries, they have internet. We have users in internet more than in other European countries. It means they are in the same space. It means we have borders, but we don't have borders in the internet. That's why they participate in the same discussions, what is happening in other countries, in Europe or in other countries. And I think that mainly who participated, they represent movements which are not represented in the parliament. and in new Duma. It means this is new generation of people, which modern generation that understand that only with modernization of the country, of political system, country can be a strong player, and they want to live in the country because, as you know, we have quite a dangerous tendency between young people that many of them, they want to leave country and to go to live abroad, to Europe or to the United States. And this is one part, but the other part, they want to stay, they want to participate in the reconstruction of the country, and they wanted to express their voice. And I think that the main thing today is if the power listen correctly this message, and if there will be necessary reaction of the power, not repression, but positive reaction, accepting and engaging these people in the process of modernization. This is the main thing. Engaging this new generation, new people in the political process, in the political system. And this is, I think, that the big challenge for the power in Russia. If we can do it, it will be strong development of democratic institutions and development of the society, because it demonstrates that Russian society want to participate in political process. They have their voice. They have their people, leaders who express that ideas. Speaking about foreign policy, I think that when you speak about European integration and speak only about Great Britain, we, Joshka, remember very well, we discussed how to make strong integration between Europe and Russia. And precisely Germany and France and myself, we participated in that discussions 10, 12 years ago. And it was clear that only the future is the integration. It doesn't mean that Russia will need to integrate with Europe. Also, we have our interests in Asia. I will speak about Asia, but it was in our idea that in the future multipolar world, Russia and Europe cooperating, not participating directly, but cooperating, will have more possibility to promote their interests. And we created Russian NATO Council in 2002. It was one of the steps in the security issues. We reached agreements creating 4 common spaces between Russia and European Union in different areas, economy, security, education. It means we started, I think, that very interesting process. It didn't receive development, not because we left our position, but for some reasons in Brussels and for some reasons in Moscow. But I think that the future is in the development of these relations with Europe, with European institutions. On the other side, we have strong development in all Asia-Pacific region. This is in next decades, this is the future of economic development, and Russia, also as a player in Asia-Pacific region, need to develop that relations. But it's very important not only to develop relations with that country, which is important. It's very important for the development of Asian part of Russia. It's our mainly internal problem, because to develop the Siberia, we have very small population, we have a lot of resources, but we don't have resources to use to develop that raw materials. And the big challenge will be how to develop relations with not only neighbor countries, China, India, South Korea and other countries, but also the other countries of the region, to involve them in the development of all that rich resources which we have. And with China, I think that some people, you may listen to speculations about the security, also in our country. I am not in favor of such a position. I think that with China we arranged long negotiations about border. With China, we have strategic interests. We created Shanghai Organization not because it was our intention to create something against something. It was as a result of our border agreement between former Soviet republics, because it was initially it was the creation of that organization. BRICS. I am not very optimistic about BRICS, for example. I think that these ad hoc organizations, G20 or BRICS, this is the result because other legal structures, they don't work well. We stopped, we started in Millennium Session the reform of UN, but we stopped. We don't go ahead with the reform of UN. We don't go ahead with the reform of international economic finance organizations. That's why appear such structures without any legal authority, BRICS, and that's why I think that I don't know how many years they will exist, 10 or 20, but I think that if we have strong international institutions, there will be less ground for such ad hoc structures as G20 or BRICS or other organizations. That's why I think that there will be broad direction of the development of relations of Russia. But I want to stress once again, it depends mainly from Russia. It depends if we can go ahead with our internal modernization, if we can modernize our economy. It will not depend only from oil and gas, but there will be modern economy with high-tech economy, and then we can play a real constructive and active role. You cannot construct your foreign policy only based on nuclear weapons and on raw materials. This is, in the future world, it will be not enough to be a strong player in the future world order.
And on Syria?
Huh?
And on Syria?
Yeah. I'm coming to Syria. I will tell you that my opinion is that what is happening in Syria is it has to be arranged between the government and between the opposition, between the dialogue. The Russian position, which was not sometimes understanding, is not to repeat the Libyan precedent in Syria, because we can speak about also what happened in Libya, but I don't think that it's necessary because we officially explained our position. But if there will be the repetition, if there is a repetition of Libyan precedent in Syria, the consequences will be for all the region will be very dramatic. That's why what we want to avoid, not to block the dialogue between government and the opposition. We are pushing that dialogue, and we are working actively with the government of Syria and with the opposition, both opposition, internal and external opposition, pushing them to the dialogue and to find the solution. But without using international institutions and as Security Council to justify some kind of interference from outside, including military interference in the issues of Syria.
Thank you very much. Robert, to end that part, you have, with great eloquence, mentioned at the end of your presentation the conflict that could still exist between universal principles and the universality of their application. In retrospect, and without wanting to embarrass you the least, what are your greatest frustration? Where do you still think that something should have been done that was really not done, or something should have been done differently, at a different pace?